Hello, and welcome to another episode of Long Distance Short, GiftBasketsOverseas.com's podcast, where we talk to real people about the triumphs and tribulations in all kinds of long-distance relationships. Your host is Allie Winters, an international gift consultant who's found success in her own long-distance romances and friendships. And here's today's topic, the story behind GiftBasketsOverseas.com. Here at GBO, we're all in long-distance professional relationships. You'll hear from the CEO, Dmitry Peregodov, about how it all started, including tips about hiring freelancers and remote workers and making long-term, long-distance employment not only plausible, but highly successful. Let's jump right in, Allie.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ellie, your loyal host of the most relationship-related podcast on the web, Long Distance Short. Today's episode is really special as our guest is Dmitry Peregodov, who is the founder of the most successful international gift delivery company, GiftBasketsOverseas.com. Dmitry kindly agreed to share his experience with us, and it's a real honor to have you today, Dmitry.
Hi, Ali. Thank you.
How is it going today?
It's great. It's a sunny autumn here in Boston, and leafage is about to end. We're getting into the holiday winter season, so it's exciting.
Do you like this period of time?
Yeah, always love this time of the year. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the same here. All right, so I think there is a question that many listeners would be interested in, especially how it all started with GiftBasketsOverseas.com. I'm really excited to learn more about your relationship story at GBO.
Sure. Yeah, a long time ago, my business partner and I, we started the company back in 2002. And the way it came about is that I've had a personal experience sending flowers to my motherland, to Russia. And there was a delivery company that did the job, and I felt that the service wasn't really that great, and I'd had a girlfriend there at the time, and also had my parents living in Moscow, Russia at the time, and I was sending gifts and flowers to them quite often, and the experience I've had was not up to the par where I would expect for as an American consumer at the time already. I've lived in the US for a while, and I felt that they weren't doing a good job. So.
Interesting. Especially, what made you think this is a bad service and I will do a better service?
Great question. Yeah, so I felt they forced me to scan my credit card number, take a scan of it. At the time there was no smartphones to take a picture. It was actually quite cumbersome to scan your credit card, and also kind of scary to provide passport information to someone in Russia. Actually, the company was there overseas, and it was quite scary to do that. It took a while to get the order approved with them, and then eventually delivery was not timely, and my parents weren't that excited because it came very late, and my girlfriend also didn't receive flowers on time for Valentine's Day, so I felt it was quite a negative experience overall.
Well, that makes sense to me. So everything started with only two people, you and your partner, right? So how did your team extend or evolve with the time?
Sure. Actually, initially it was just me and my business partner for a while, and we were just building a business, understanding how this is going to work and what sort of team we would need. We've started the business, on a part-time basis, working for companies at the beginning, and then later focusing on the business more full-time. Started to understand that we need a customer service team, a strong team that would provide the best service, to the end customer. And so we started hiring multilingual customer service representatives. Started from just several of them. There were only two at the beginning. Then we had 5 at some point, and it sort of grew to the size we are today. Where today we
how
have
many?
how
many?
Yeah, we have around 60 people today.
Wow.
Overall, between customer service, sales, customer order processing team, catalog, marketing, tech. We have many departments now, and each and every one is well resourced, and we've been growing over the last 17 years fairly well. So that's where we are today with 60 full-time people.
No, sounds impressive. But back at the time, you knew that you wanted to make the international gift delivery company. So it wasn't just for Moscow, like between Moscow and Boston, let's say, but it's like the
Sure.
whole globe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the beginning, we were just focusing on particular cities where we had connections and gifting suppliers and florists. Those were mostly, in the beginning, were just Moscow, Russia, and St. Petersburg, Russia. And then we expanded to other locations such as Ukraine and other cities in Russia. And then eventually all countries of the former Soviet Union. That was done under the brand different brands, and one Moscow brand was called flowers to Moscow.com, and St. Petersburg brand was called flowers to Petersburg.com, and flowers to Ukraine.com, and so on. We had several websites focusing geographically on particular delivery locations, and eventually we've created a brand called RussianFlora.com, which was an international brand really focusing on all the countries of former Soviet Union and also other locations worldwide. And that was really a more flower brand, not as much of a gift basket brand, although we've had some gift baskets there. But focus of the customers were really on romantic gift senders who have some love overseas. So your podcast is, I believe, is around long distance relationships. So that was really our customer, who are dating online and finding their love overseas, and they were using our service to send a flower arrangement or a gift to someone far away. And we were right in the middle of that. And that was our beginning of where we are today. And then eventually we sort of moved away from just personal gifts, and we got into gift baskets and more business gifting. So giftbasketsoverseas.com is more corporate gifting company, although we do have a lot of personal gifts there as well. So, but that gift basket is really not just a romantic gift, but often an appreciation gift, a thank you gift. And so that company is far beyond just a romantic gift sender focus, but also has a focus on a business sender.
Yeah, totally. So I know you have hired freelancers. Freelance is associated with long distance, yes, and long distance working, like maybe for some specific projects. So what is the main difference between them in terms of maybe management? Because I think it's a really interesting idea to think about.
Sure. Yeah, so the freelancers are generally people who want to work for themselves. And in the US, those sort of people, they usually would be called self-employed. So they employ themselves in that sense. They're like their own animal, if you will. They have certain style of how they want to work. They want to have less structure in their job. They want to decide when they do the work and what kind of work they do. Generally, freelancers are most found in the area of foreign languages, translations. You see some in customer service today. There are many fields today where you see freelancers, and consultants that work in remotely. So we don't distinguish that too much. But when we were starting, freelance was not as popular. Today it is much more common. There are websites where freelancers work, look for work, and where we generally look for those types of people. Oftentimes when we find people to join us, they are freelancers, and we sort of groom them into becoming more permanent contractors with us. They still have, projects that they're working on, and those projects change time to time, and sometimes they don't change as much. But a lot of these people, become permanent team members. They still enjoy a lot of flexibilities of their freelance engagement, but with us, they have also a very different fit on what we call a culture fit. And we look for those types of people who would really enjoy not just being a freelancer, but being a part of something bigger. And I believe our team gives them that. Our company provides that sort of environment.
Interesting. And for example, if you want to hire somebody, yes, for our listeners, if they want to become a part of GBO, what criteria do they need to have in order to fit in this big team, this big organism, so to say?
Sure. In the early years, we've had a lot of hiring based on fit. Based on skill set. So, for example, we looked at particular languages. Does this person speak English? Does this person speak Spanish? Does this person speak Russian? Or are they able to operate a computer? Are they quick with it? Are they great on the phone with customers? Do they like this? So a lot of this sort of stuff was really a skill-based hiring, and a lot of companies. And I think the trend had changed in the last, 5 to 10 years, where we see a lot of that changing. A lot of companies and leaders teach us that today hiring on skill is not enough. And we heard a lot from CEOs of famous companies that are famous in customer service, such as Zappos. Zappos is a company that sells shoes, and their CEO have hired on a lot on fit and core values, as opposed to just hiring on skills.
So, for example, what values?
Yeah, so each company has their own core values that they feel are important for them, and several things are important for our team and our not just founding team, but those who joined the company over time. And those values are really focused on several things, such as flexibility. We all work from our own locations. A lot of people work from home. A lot of people work from very flexible office environments where they feel like they're at home. So we want people to feel like they're home. We want people to feel flexible with us. We are flexible with them. And so flexibility is one of the core values we have. We cherish that. And we want people who work with us to also be flexible. So when we need them to work, more than they initially planned to, then sometimes they stay longer. People really do this for us, and they remain flexible, for the company.
Yeah.
We also are trying to do the same with them and try to offer them flexibility. Ownership is another part where we have we put a lot of importance on ownership. So we want people to really own their job and be responsible for parts that they have. We don't really have the high degree of control over them. So everyone is somewhat independent to a high degree, much higher degrees than they would be working in a big office where everyone is in the same place. So that someone who has those sort of aptitudes, they would be the right people for us to attract.
Yeah, it makes sense. And now, a few words for our sponsors. The international gift delivery company GiftBasketsOverseas.com.
With all your favorite holidays coming closer, it might begin to feel impossible to get everyone's gifts and keep your sanity. Good news! GiftBasketsOverseas.com makes it easy to send great gifts to more than 200 countries around the world, all in one place, and you never have to leave your house to do it. Save yourself the time and hassle. Send everyone you love a decadent gift from GiftBasketsOverseas.com and enjoy the holidays.
So if we talk about this change, yes, from the contractor to a permanent member of your team, what are the signs of great worker, so to say? What shows, first of all, that this is your person, that you're ready to work with this person like over a long time period?
Yeah, so it's really hard to know in the beginning. You're hiring someone over a long distance. They never done this. They've done only their own work for themselves. How do you know if they're going to fit? So we don't know that, but a lot of time our managers at this point, it used to be mostly me, and now there's mostly team leads and managers of particular departments make those decisions. They're definitely much better than I was when I was starting, and now they have more experience than I had when I was starting. But we all have sixth sense, and I think it's not only skill-based or value-based hiring. You can't really judge how well a person is going to own something when you're first talking to them, right? How would you know that? How would you know if the person is going to be a good team member and communicator? How would you know if they going to be a good team player? Would you really know if they're going to be flexible with you? So, asking some questions sometimes helpful. We try to get those, but interview isn't really enough. When we start working with someone, the first 1 or 2 weeks, generally make it very clear when you have something where you need person to do something extra, go an extra mile, do something for you. You can sometimes ask for that favor and see how they react. It's not something they have to do.
So you like to test people?
We don't really test them like on purpose, but there are situations, right, where you need something from someone, and that isn't something they'd expect that they'd be asked in the first
in a
week
natural
or so.
way, yeah, like
But sometimes we do, and of course, first couple of weeks it's mostly training, but still, you can sometimes see how dedicated someone is. Enthusiasm is something we really look for, because enthusiasm is not really a value necessarily. It's something that someone has that in the beginning, and later they may not necessarily have that, but they have a skill at that point, and then they still may have enough motivation to keep going. But enthusiasm in the beginning is a must-have. Like if someone doesn't have enthusiasm and they're not enthusiastic about the job, about joining the team, if you don't see that, then that's a very bad sign. You really need that in someone starting out. And regardless of how young or old person is, regardless of how emotional they are, you should look for signs of enthusiasm. And if that's not there, you should run away. You should really, expel that sort of person. They need to have that. That's must have. Other things, really how nice person to work with. And in the beginning, of course, we try to put our best face on, and we do our best. But those types of things that may come out later, maybe in a month or two, you start seeing some signs that person isn't really that nice to work with, and other people start complaining about this person. They're really not our type of person. Some people fit very well in an office environment, where the traditional office, where they come to the work 9 to 5, they leave, they come at 9, they leave at 5, they have their coffee and lunch, and they talk to you. They're sort of nice. They will work perfectly in a big company. With us, not always, right? We still have kind of a startup-ish feel. We're not a startup anymore, but we still have a lot of innovation happening every day, really. Every month for sure. We do new things. Mm-hmm. We launch new projects, and we need someone who would enjoy that sort of environment. It's a little bit chaotic, a little bit hectic, a little bit disorganized, and definitely more organized than before, but still not 100% like a big company would be. So we need someone who would enjoy that sort of environment. We need someone who would fit in this sort of environment, who would be part of that gladly and not be, irritated by that. So some people who worked in big companies, they come in here and they'd be like, where am I? What am I doing here? So that's not the right person for us. We enjoy people with experience, but we prefer someone who would be open to experience we're able to give, and experience we will enjoy. We also have a lot of cultural things that we do. I'm sure, we can talk about those if you'd like. Things, we get together every year, right? And we go on a trip. We get about half of the team joining those trips every time it's a new place, a new country, and company pays for those trips. People go, and they fly to some new place. So again, that sort of thing that you go, if you're a first timer joining the team and you're going to that kind of trip, you don't know anybody in person. You have to basically be ready to jump from very high, tall building somewhere in the deep water. You don't know how deep it is. You don't know exactly who you're going to go with. And this sort of aptitude for risk, aptitude for a little bit disorganized and a little bit chaotic environment where you don't know people necessarily, and you're ready to go with them and socialize and learn together. I think we're looking for those people who would be comfortable to go on those sort of trips, comfortable to socialize and communicate with a bunch of strangers initially, and then those who will become friends eventually, and really you continue your relationship on a long distance after meeting them in person. That's part of the experience.
Yeah.
So that's I think that kind of comes to our culture, right? And that speaks to how a long distance relationship really comes in the physical world, and we have connection as well. So we have those two dots connected from long distance to physical.
Yeah. Well, that's really great. And I mean, when you meet these people for the first time, for some of them, yes, I think your corporate trips, they kind of show the way the company works in general, and we usually get a lot of pleasure, something new from visiting some new places.
Well, some people do. Some people do that. So to your point, yes. So you're saying yes, we and the person, because you probably are a person like that, because you can speak to yourself for yourself, and maybe some people, friends of yours.
Of course, it's very
because
subjective.
We attract similar people to our environment, so we say we because that's who we are, and I'm glad that you share that. But some people aren't like that. So that's what I'm saying. That fit is not always about skill. Fit is also about what kind of person are you. Are you the type of person who would enjoy the things that we enjoy? Are you a friendly person who would enjoy the new experiences, or would you be uncomfortable about that? And if you're uncomfortable, we really don't want you to be uncomfortable. We don't want you to be here if you're not going to enjoy what you do, right? And we want those people who would not only enjoy the work, but also will enjoy the social part of this interaction, and that really comes to the culture. And we want those people to be happy with us. We want them to be themselves with us.
But with the time, we can lose this fire. We can maybe get accustomed to what we do. And how do you manage to keep them motivated and focused on work? Some people need some kind of motivation, and they need their asses to be kicked up. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we're great with ass kicking. That's what we do. But to be honest, more specifically, burnout is an issue for any company, I believe. It's probably more of an issue in companies where people don't connect well. Where communication chains are broken and people don't notice that this happens. When and if this happens with us, and we do have situations like this as well, time to time, someone is close to a burnout point. And in the beginning, when we were starting, we didn't know how it looks, how the burnout looks like, and the first signs of it.
Maybe everybody experiences this in a different way, yeah. So we
can definitely, but you can see how person's changing. Like someone was really excited to do this work, and they really done so well, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't see that. Why is that? And sometimes people have a temporary life is full of stripes, right? We don't know how the next period would be, but like, it's a short period, it's not a big deal. But sometimes person just permanently becomes a different person, and they just don't enjoy it anymore, and they just not the same. They're really not part of the team to the level where we'd expect them to be. And in our team is very noticeable because, customers are the best judge, right? When someone works in customer service, sales, or customer order processing, these people are on the front lines of customer interaction, and customer generally would notice something and they would complain to someone about something and to the team. And sometimes these people would do less work and they would leave earlier, or they would ask someone else to do their work for them, and eventually it just becomes that other people have to do the work for them instead of them. And sometimes this is when really the person needs a different job, right? And that's one of the solutions, right? You have to, in our case, we sometimes find those opportunities where someone who is no longer able to successfully do the job they've been hired to do, we would transition that person out of that job and try to find them something else. Luckily, we now have a lot of opportunities within the team where we need good people if they fit well in the culture. Then finding them a different job may be possible sometimes. In general, we've been lucky, I must say. We've been lucky where we have very low turnover. A lot of people who come to us, they stay with us for a long time. We have a number of people who stayed with us for 10 to 12 years now, and I'm very excited to have those types of numbers. And big part of the team is 3 to 5 year old with us. So that's a good number, and we do have quite a few of those who would join fresh meat, so to speak.
Toddlers.
Yeah, toddlers. We call them Christmas virgins, and that's a term that some may understand, but we basically have Christmas season, right? That's the most difficult and most exciting at the same time. The period when most people want to send the gifts, and we work 10 times harder than normal, and get about 15 to 20 times more orders than normal months. So that really makes it difficult for a lot of newcomers. So those who have never been through Christmas, they call Christmas virgins, and they need to get through that difficult period where they they get the experience of Christmas, and that's where they sort of become a true part of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, really makes sense. All right. And in the end, like, what advice maybe would you give for entrepreneurs and managers about building business relationships on long distance? And maybe not only long, but basically, yeah, how to do it in the best way possible.
I think being honest is a big thing. I mean, being honest and open. Long distance is one of those things where people find a lot of shady experiences, where you go and you meet someone online, and this person turns out to be a scammer, or you go and you date someone, and this person turns out to be not the right person for you, or you try to find a job online and you find it. I start working with someone, they don't pay you, right? And or things like that. I mean, there are so many hidden stones in a long distance world that in general, a lot of people have stigma with getting involved with someone on a long distance. And so I believe in honesty and openness from the very beginning. So when we interview people, we tell them right at the interview that it will not be an easy job. It's not. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, I've done this and that. I've been around. I've tried these jobs, and I'm cool. I can do it." But oftentimes people underestimate the difficulty, underestimate the commitment that we require, because what we have is not another freelance gig. It's a commitment to be part of the team and to share success and failures of the team and to be part of it all the way. And I believe it's very different from freelancing, and it's someone has to basically sort of transition out of thinking as a freelancer, but to thinking as being a part of the team and being part of what we do, sharing our values, sharing our goals, our mission of being the company that is number one in gifting worldwide. And I believe, in order to be part of that big idea, part of the big mission, people need to believe in what we do, and to believe they need to trust us. And trust is a big thing that I believe we didn't talk about much on this interview, but trust is really what makes it all work. And we're trusting a person joining us to work with us and be honest with us. And we want to be honest with the person. We tell upfront all they can expect. We tell upfront what's going to happen. And we try to be very honest from the interview time to all the way through a relationship. And that builds a true trust. Now, obviously, people over time, that's how we built a reputation online as one of the best places to work for online. And this is where we are today after having trusted so many people and after getting trust from so many people. So I think this mutual trust is what makes it all work.
Yeah, it should be mutual 100%. Thank you so much, Dmitry, for such an atmospheric interview. It was a big pleasure for me, and I think this will be really an informative and interesting piece of information for our listeners. So once again, thanks a ton. It's a pleasure to have such a guest like you.
Thank you so much for having me, Ali, and good luck with the podcast. You have a great thing going with Long Distance Short, and if any listeners would like, I'm happy to share a coupon code just with your listeners so that they can take advantage of our gifting service. And perhaps in spite of recent discussion, let's call the coupon Trust25, and this will be for $25 of any gift they can buy on giftbasketsoverseas.com within next month. So next 30 days, any listener can save $25 with the coupon Trust25. And thanks again for having me.
Yeah, and thanks so much for giving this opportunity to our listeners. Yeah. So yeah, this is our 5th episode of Long Distance Short. If you want to listen more, just check our blog posts, and you can find there not only the episodes, but also the transcripts, as well as you can reach out to us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a month's time.
Thanks for listening to Long Distance Short. GiftBasketsOverseas.com's podcast with real people in real long-distance relationships. Make sure to subscribe and keep tuning in for a new episode every month. If you have any questions or ideas for a future podcast, make sure to drop us a line at podcast@giftbasketsoverseas.com. That's podcast@giftbasketsoverseas.com.